Right.
Right.
So, what would you say is like two of the pieces that somebody, if they dropped in on your workshop, would walk away with?
Depends on the workshop I was doing. Which one?
Oh, was it the project workshop that you were doing? I can't remember which workshop that was. The one up in West Palm?
Yeah, I did an NHD one. Let's see, just a couple of weeks ago, which was very well received. It's very nice. I actually have a lot of people that signed up for it this year. And it's kind of interesting. We took a different approach. We've been trying to get people to do National History Day for the longest time, and finally got people to go on by telling them, try it and fail.
Try and fail. What a great idea. Why?
Yeah, it's very simply, people look at this huge project that has 5 different components, and if they're not very comfortable with any one of the 5, there's a reason just to say, screw it, I don't want to do it. So we just, I sat down with 2 other people that are, shakers and movers in the county vis-a-vis NHDs, and we said, hey, we're trying to get people to do this. Why don't we make this as simple as we can? Give something, let's just strip it down to the bare minimum and say, look, here's what we have. It's a very neat project. It encompasses so many of the Common Core, things that they want to do in literary, like, knowing how to do an annotated bibliography and stuff from science, applying the scientific method to the social studies, things like that. And we said, look, let's make it so that people can come in and they can pick one small part of the project that they can start with that. Okay, something that, stay within their comfort zone and then branch out from there. Because we're finding that just too many people were coming in, they loved the idea, they loved seeing the projects that were done, they loved the idea of the students coming back and saying how wonderful an experience it was, and we noticed the same students keep showing up to these things year after year. And then we just couldn't figure out why we couldn't get more, a broader appeal going there. And we just came up and said, here it is. Teachers are afraid. There's this fear of failure. And we said, look, let's encourage failure, if you will. Give it a shot. Let's see what happens. And we related stories of how when we were all starting out, I had a couple of other teachers with me, how when we were starting out, we made just real rookie mistakes. We said, make those mistakes. It's okay. That's the way life is. It's like Edison and the light bulb, man. How many, 1,000 tries or something crazy? And what was his reply? Says, I learned that there were 1,000 ways not to do it.
That's a great
So,
line. Yeah.
yeah.
You actually learned something in the failure.
Yeah. And Steve, you did all that research with Deming a few years ago. And Deming's big thing was start small.
Right.
And I think one of the things that Deming liked to talk about was the way what some Japanese firm that made the ceramic engines for Mazda. They didn't start out making ceramic engines. What they started out making was ceramic scissors. And there wasn't even a market for ceramic scissors, but they learned from that, and they scaled up from there. And I think that's something that we can apply in education as well. Too often teachers look at the big picture, and they fail to see that there are little teeny tiny entry points that you're allowed to jump in on. But, Steve, so much of the way teachers are graded, depends on everything always being this, full-blown, out-of-the-box stuff. And you go to different workshops, and the people that present at workshops, everything is just shiny and incredible, and you look at it and go, wow, that's amazing. What you don't see is the years it took people to get to that point. And nothing is ever perfect right out of the box. My God, we're still improving on computers and cars and everything else. Compare the car of today to the first car that started rolling off the assembly line, back 100 years ago. Just, there's no comparison. So I think what we have to do is kind of change the way we're thinking about what we're expecting from our teachers and also from our students as well. Today was our first day in class, and I'm introducing myself to my students today, and I know it's late, but that's the way we do things. We're following an up-north model at Oxbridge. But I said, hey, you guys, you're going to be graded for your attempt. I said, the more outlandish attempt that you make as introducing national history that first day, saying, look, guys, you get points for trying and thinking big and expansively, because that's the way great things happen. And I said, let's take it together. And if you're really working, you're really trying, you're doing neat things. You may have this concept and you can't quite bring it to fruition, we're going to give you credit for that. And then we're going to come back and we're going to edit it together and we're going to make this thing work. And I don't think there's enough of that. Because so much is, people want immediate success right now. It's got to be wonderful or you're a failure. That's just not life. You look at I just read it in Wired magazine. Some corporate boss is complaining about the kids that are being hired out of college. And they're saying that they've never really had to stretch. They're so good at following directions, and they're so good, at dotting I's and crossing T's. They're so good at doing all the real grunt work. He says, that's not the people we want. We want people that are willing to experiment. We want people that are going to come in and kind of shake up the organization. And his lament was, schools aren't teaching that. And his further lament was, how do you teach something like that? And I don't have an answer for that one, but you got to create a climate to come out and be a little bit outlandish is a word, but strange in our approach to the way we're going to look at our studies. For example, I teach world history, and I love bringing in snippets from the Ancient Aliens series. Do I believe that ancient aliens, built the pyramids? Of course not. Okay, but it's cool to bring that in and throw that out there. Say, okay, kids, what did they get right? What did they get wrong? And that's what really fostering critical thinking skills, and it's allowing the kids to say, well, if that guy can say something that's stupidly outlandish, okay, maybe I have some ideas about the way things happen in life. I'm teaching Big Bang. I started my world history class about 13.7 billion years ago. And I'm starting with all of the original theories for the origin of the universe that were discredited. And there's some people that had some wild theories. Hubble had a theory, Einstein had a theory that proved to be wrong. And just saying, look, these guys had theories, they did their research, and this is what they came up with, and it's wrong. And who's to say what we're doing right now isn't wrong as well? So just trying to really get some good thinking there. And with the proper support material, I've got a tiny little 4-minute snippet that explains the current theory of the Big Bang in very understandable language, from some English group called Faraday. Okay, so we're going to bring that in. And I've got the theme song to the Big Bang Theory, the TV show, the comedy. Okay, so well, that's beautiful. You know why? That theme song, the thing of the show, is a timeline.
Oh, right.
Starting with the Big Bang, going all the way up. There's a lot of neat things you can do to bring in. And ultimately, I want to link my study of the Big Bang to things that they can use in physics. We teach physics at the same time. Okay? That's the class that they have after mine, most of the kids. And next year they've got chemistry. Well, talking about when first elements appear, when the first stars appear, so that you get your first light, and that's something like, 300,000 years into the age of the universe. It's kind of nice to give that kind of perspective for the kids, and then just getting to try to think about the concept of everything that exists, everything that ever was or will be, starting at something that was a pinpoint of nothing more than just energy in its purest form. And then laying on the whole thought that, hey, you guys, what we're studying is time, and time was invented 13.7 billion years ago. Okay? Man, if you can wrap your brain around that stuff, you're doing amazing stuff. Okay? And, my job is, how do you get the kids fired up about this? How do you get them really thinking in such expansive terms? So anyway, are most of the kids going to really understand and grasp what's going on there? I don't think so. Hell, I don't. Okay? But just throwing that out there and then being able to get the kids to ask questions. Because, if they don't go to the physics teacher, if they don't go to the chemistry teacher and start talking and asking questions, then I think I've failed. But isn't that what Common Core wants us to do? To really get the kids questioning, critically thinking, going on relating material from different classes, getting the kids to actually think in broad terms. So that's where I'm at right now.
That's very
your question.
That's very helpful because your presentation spans every subject. You don't have to just do NHD.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Okay, and because I teach my world history class with an artist's eye, I've got different images of creation. And, I'm going to slip into the ceiling at the Sistine Chapel, and that gives me a chance to kind of go off on controlled tangents. So, the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel is just so ripe with so many good images. Everyone knows the two naked guys touch his fingers, right? Okay. Well, 3 panels down, there is Othello mooning everybody below him. Okay? And then on one of the side panels, there is this incredible picture that most historians say is a self-portrait of Michelangelo up there. He's been enslaved. His skin has been taken off him, and one of his detractors is standing there, and the guy, the detractor, is painted with a giant, I want to keep this clean for public consumption, but he's lacking a penis, and there's something else in his butt. And, I'm not sure how that's going to go over the kids. I'm just going to show the image and say, what do you see there? And there's all kinds of other little subtle undertones. But here's Michelangelo trying to say, not only the creation of man, but also the creation of the universe is here. And then he makes all kinds of other political statements. So getting the kids to think about, here is one of the most magnificent works of art in the history of the world, in a very different light. It's kind of sensationalizing it and maybe trivializing it to some point. But still, it's getting the kids to look at things in a way they've never looked at it before. Or maybe this is the first time they've ever looked at it at all. It's going to make them want to go on their own and do some research. Because what do we want? We want to create lifelong learners. And how do you create lifelong learners? You get the spark going, and then you just keep fanning it. Okay? And hopefully every single day in class I'll have something like this. Some little central thing. And the really super bright kids, they get it, they run with this kind of stuff. The kids that aren't so bright, those are the ones that are really tough to reach. But you can reach them. And then I've seen it, and that's what we do. And it's education in its broadest sense. The kids, man, they're not going to remember all the bull crap. I mean, so much of it is. It's just, what's the old teacher saying? They don't remember what you taught them, but boy, they'll still remember how you treated them. Favorite teacher, I'm not sure what I learned in that class, but God, I love learning. Things like that. And that's what we're trying to inculcate. And I don't know. That's where I'm at. Probably totally wrong. Just stick to the nice worksheet.
Well, I love the idea of pushing to fail. Jump in, knowing that you're not going to be able to get through all the NHD levels. Is that the idea?
Not so much that as just kids to really kind of stretch themselves. Instead of taking the easy way out or just doing it to get it done. And so much schooling, isn't that what it is? It's I have to do this, I'm going to get it done, and then go on to the next thing. Getting to actually get fired up about something, to, be, I hate to use this word, but being inspirational. Just how many inspiring people do you meet in your life? Very few, and if you can't be an inspiring teacher, or at least aspire to be inspiring, I think we're kind of missing the boat there.
So is there some advantage to, instead of having 3 teachers all teaching individual projects, if you can get one really good project that the kids can invest 3 class periods into?
Yeah, that's the ideal, and that's what we're working toward at Oxbridge. But the problem we have is it's tough coming up with those projects. And I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all project, because like when we were doing a couple of years ago, the World War II vets, we had some kids that just ate that up, but there was, we still had that, albeit a small group, the kids that just could not wrap their brains around their project, didn't want to wrap their brains, didn't care, for whatever reason. But then we had the other kids that got so fired up, their grandparents started volunteering to tell their stories, and it bloomed out to, why aren't we just doing World War II vets? There are stories that the Korean veterans have, and then it started growing even further, saying, look, why don't we go around our local community? This is right out of Wiki. Why don't we go around our local community and start capturing some of the stories of the people that aren't going to be around all that much longer? Tell the story, because there's so much lost history. So projects kind of take on lives of their own and start going off. And, our World War II veterans story that started involved in. But, then we had a project last year where we did the Zora Neale Thurston story, and we found out that her grave, a little bit north of here, was neglected, so kids ended up taking a field trip up there, and they cleaned up the grave site, and they planted flowers, yada, yada. We had jazz musicians come in, and we called it the Zora Project. And, on paper it looks really, really good. The reality was, it was kind of flat. And it really wasn't all that inspiring. It should have been, it could have been, it just wasn't. And we went back and we debriefed. We said, here's the problem. The kids just, when you get right down to it and cut through all the stuff, the kids just didn't like her authorship, her writing. And, that's blasphemy, to be in Florida to say that. But that's the reality. So we had a really good idea. It just never really took off. We did it. It was a nice project. It was a good project. The kids read Zora. They got an understanding of times. We brought in, racism. We brought in sexism. We brought in how the lady started out in Florida, ended up in Florida, and then traveled, a good part of the world in between. But it just wasn't one of those really inspiring, awesome, crazy things. This summer I went up to Harvard and with the Silk Road Project and saw just some amazing teachers and some really great projects that have been done. But even they admit there are some projects that just sound really good and look good, but they just don't fly. And other projects that don't sound like much to do. And but finding that project, it's capturing that magic in a jar. It's tough. So.
Well, thank you very much for this.
Anything you can use.
Yeah, you got it. Appreciate it. And